Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Camnet Media News. My name is Amazing Katamanda. We take a look at the stories that are making the headlines. A clergyman cautions politicians against issuing divisive statements. Government weighs in on the theft incident involving former President EDGAR LUNGU. We'll be right back with more details. Stay tuned.
On Monday, 15th August 2022, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chilu with his guest, Mr. Sean Tembo, the President.
You should only help people who need to be helped. That way, you'll be properly utilizing, scarce national resources. So if I was the one running the affairs of this country, yes, I would still pursue the same policy of, universal education, free education. But the way I would implement it is that, I'll come up with a comprehensive social welfare system.
I'm your pastor and, of course, host.
As they discuss developing Zambia as Zambians.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp and text messages.
On DSTV channel 274, GoTV channel 98 and Topstar channel 106.
Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back, and now the news in detail. Bus drivers from Lusaka's Kulima Tower bus station have continued defying the directive from the Ministry of Transport and Logistics for them to adhere to the bus fares for local routes, which have been adjusted downwards by 5 kwacha following the drop in fuel prices July month-end. Camnet News caught up with the bus driver and conductor who held a commuter captive, refusing to alight him from the bus until he had paid the owed bus fares. More in this report.
This may look like the beginning of a movie scene, but it is actually a scene in real life, as the Camnet TV news crew Wednesday morning was put to the task of catching up with a bus which was allegedly going around with one commuter after they had refused to accept the new bus fares from Lusaka's Kulima Tower bus station to Kablonga. Wrangles like these have been common since the drop in fuel prices July month-end, as the Road Transport and Safety Agency RATSA announced a reduction in bus fares for local routes by 5 kwacha after a meeting with stakeholders. Camnet News finally managed to catch up with the bus, and the passenger was set free.
It's illegal because in the station Mulima Tower. But when it's time to increase, it's matter in Bekazama. When it's time to reduce, you're waiting for fair chats. Ndemene muchita.
Even in a bus younger band, can get a price in most. You shall price in most. So, that's why I was. But when I'm going to stage of not 17 watch, which means if you come at a one, mind I want to divide. Oh, dear, why you will say, along the summer bus, 17 watch, but one up with that. That would be the best.
The news crew took a step further to talk to chairperson of the bus drivers in Kulima Tower, as the drivers have been alleging that they have been directed by the state chairperson not to adjust to the new bus fares.
Yeah, for the thing again, my distance is here. You find Mundwina wind up Cheston. Winango end up a Mandayu. Winango wind up a North Meet. So I've no zero, even my conductors. I could confuse 5 quarters a minute. But North Meet, my men,
Meanwhile, United Party for National Development Deputy Youth Spokesperson Phineas Pumulo says citizens should be allowed to benefit from the reduction.
So this time around, since the fuel has been reduced, let also the people on the grassroots so that they should feel the impact, or they should feel the interest of the reduction in fuel price, so that even the consumers, the people down, they should also feel the impact that the new Dawn government has reduced the bus fares.
Meanwhile, RATSA head of public relations Fred Mubanga, in a statement to Camnet News, says stakeholders will be re-engaged on the bus fares before the end of business, Wednesday 10th August 2022. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Stakeholders have weighed in on allegations by Patriotic Front Media and Publicity Chairperson Raphael Nakachinda that the country is currently under a mafia administration that is trying to kill its citizens, following the break-in that took place at the home of former President EDGAR Lungu Tuesday. In an interview, a clergyman, Reverend Glovu, has cautioned politicians against uttering statements that have potential to bleach the peace in the country. More in this report.
The family of the 6th Republican President EDGAR Lungu has come under the spotlight of recent, following the investigation of 15 flats in State Lodge area alleged to belong to former First Lady Esther Lungu. Latest is the break-in that is alleged to have taken place at the residence of the former president in Lusaka's Ibex area Tuesday, which saw the thieves getting away with 2 television sets valued thousands of kwacha. While the police say investigations are underway, some members of the former ruling Patriotic Front, among them PF Chairperson for Publicity and Information Raphael Nakachinda, have taken it upon themselves to accuse the current administration of being behind the incident.
We have said time and again that we have a mafia government that is going to start targeting individuals, including killing those they quote-unquote perceive to be their enemies or their rivals. President EDGAR Lungu has been magnanimous enough to give President HH space to govern. He has even placed himself, what we usually joke with him, under house arrest because he never moves from this house.
This has not sat well with some stakeholders, among them those from the church, who say such sentiments are capable of destabilizing the peace in the country. A clergyman, Reverend Glovu, was speaking to Camnet News.
The power of life and death is not in heaven, neither is it in hell. It is in our tongue. God has taken that power and put it in our mouth. So everything we say comes to pass. I would like to really say this seriously. As political leaders, as pastors, let us avoid speaking negative words over our nation. And the last part I also would like to say on this one, Zipporah, is that number one, when you are in opposition, you need to be careful what you say, because you might create and inherit a future you have negatively prophesied. And then if you are ruling, you need to continue being positive, even when you become in opposition. Because what I've seen as a trend is, when you're in power, you want people to speak good over you. When you are in opposition, you start insulting those that are in power.
Other stakeholders, among them the United Party for National Development, UPND, and the Southern Africa Center for the Constructive Resolution of Disputes, SACORD, have also spoken out.
Raphael Nakachinda should be understood. If you check the way he is looking now, this is somebody who is under psychological trauma, because he professed that HH can never be president, and to his rude shock, the person who was saying can never be president is the head of state.
The news of such is absolutely regrettable, and we hope that the law enforcement agencies will get to the bottom of this matter.
The stakeholders have called for unity beyond politics. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Ministry of Information and Media Director spokesperson Tao Kawana says the United Party for National Development Administration is winning the fight against corruption. Mr. Kawana says government is keen to steer transparency, accountability in its affairs, as evident in the recruitment of 30,000 teachers and 11,000 health personnel. Meanwhile, Mr. Kawana says in as much as it is regrettable that thieves broke into the residence of former President EDGAR Lungu, it is illogical for the Patriotic Front Party and other government critics to blame it on President Hakainde Hichilema. More in this report.
The month of August remains instrumental in Zambia's political landscape, in that Zambians reflect on the pre-election period as the United Party for National Development Administration
will be clocking 1 year in office. At the same time, citizens are reflecting on campaign promises. Minister of Information and Media Director spokesperson Tawo Kawana says the government has demonstrated commitment to better the lives of citizens by continuously working on economic fundamentals. Speaking when he appeared on the Millennium Radio program dubbed The Interview on the fight against corruption, Mr. Kawana says they are winning the fight. Transparency and accountability remain key pillars of the UPND government, citing the recruitment of teachers and health personnel.
Only a few months ago, they are the same people employing now, and they are not collecting bribes, and they are not choosing people because they are connected to them, and there is totally no corruption in the selection process. It is satisfying to know that we are winning the battle against corruption. When we employ well over 11,000 health workers, and you have got no issues arising pointing towards corruption, and even though over 100,000 people applied, only 11,000 are picked, but the remainder, which is a big number, does not cry to say we were left out because they picked these who are connected. But that very number backs you up and says the process was transparent, we were left out, but we are hopeful that we will get it the next time round. That tells you we are winning the battle against corruption. So I'll answer you, yes, sir. We are happy with what we are doing towards the battle against corruption.
And on the topical issue regarding the break-in by thieves at the residence of former President EDGAR Lungu, Mr. Kawana, who expressed regret over the incident, says it is irrational for the Opposition Patriotic Front and other government critics to blame it on President Hakainde Hichilema.
We expect to hear the truth from the police. Okay. And remedial actions will be taken. But like I said, we are making a whole hullabaloo out of it like it is the first time this is happening. And that is why it was important to state that it is not the first time, and that is why it was important to give examples. Not that I'm trying to justify that there's nothing wrong. No, no, no. The action of theft there is very regrettable. The breaking is very regrettable. But it is also regrettable to try and state that it is the first time it is happening and it must be blamed on the president. We can't do that.
And Mr. Kawana also emphasized the key responsibility of the ministry, which is to bridge the information gap on governments and policies being implemented. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Local players in the building and construction industry have challenged the government to create an enabling environment for local contractors to prove themselves as expected. Bolokoso Member of Parliament Brian Mondowile says the construction sector is faced with various challenges, which includes overpricing, lack of resources, and lack of confidence from those in authority. More in this report.
Players in the building and construction industry Wednesday gathered in Lusaka for a conference to discuss the challenges and opportunities presented by the sector. Several stakeholders were in attendance, among them government officials as well as financial sector players. And in Bolokoso, Member of Parliament Brian Mondowile, who is also a player in the building and construction industry, raised various challenges being faced in the sector, among them overpricing, lack of confidence in local contractors, as well as lack of resources, among other things.
That whenever something goes wrong with the contract, it's only the contractor who is called out. It's only the contractor who is called out. From my experience, that is wrong. A typical contract will have a resident engineer on site supervising you, the contractor, every day. Yes. This consultant or resident engineer is there to certify even the quality of the materials, the stone that you're using, the sand that you're using, the cement that you're using.
Other players such as former Commerce and Industry Minister Bob Sichinga, Luapula Patriotic Front Member of Parliament Chande Katontowe, and Tomorrow Investment Chief Executive Officers have also added their voice on the matter.
And truth be told, nobody wants to be called to Anti-Corruption Commission or TEC or the police to explain why they awarded the contract to a local. So what you see is that our procurement officers realize that, the statement that we want to empower Zambians is purely political. It's not meant to be. Because if I award 10 contracts, I give 1 to a Zambian, 9 to foreigners, all the queries on the Zambians. I have family. Next year I'll give 10 to foreigners and I have no query. I go home.
And in responding to some of the concerns raised by various players, Ministry of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development Permanent Secretary Daniel Omfune has assured that government will provide a legal and enabling environment for the construction industry to thrive.
The Act was reviewed, amended, and I think it's now in force. The NCC Act was also reviewed. All these amendments were done to resolve these problems where we don't have adequate local participation. So what these amended acts now are doing is that any foreign contractor who is given a government job, they are supposed to work in a joint venture with the local contractor.
At a particular ministry to chase for payments, we are trying to move away from that. But of course, this is a difficult period that we are in. It's in a transition, but there are a number of things and activities that we are trying to do to try and normalize the situation in a matter of speed.
The building and construction industry plays a pivotal role in the national development, contributing over 10% to the country's gross domestic product (GDP). Allowing local players to take part in the construction industry will not only contribute to the national development, but also provide decent employment opportunities for many Zambians, especially the youths. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
That item brings us to the end of our Camnet Media News, but before we go, we take a look at the stories that made the headlines. A clergyman cautions politicians against issuing divisive statements. Government weighs in on the theft incident involving former President EDGAR Lungu. That's all we had for you on our Camnet Media News. My name is Amazing Katamanda. Thank you for watching.